I found out my wife was cheating, thanks to our daughter. My wife and I got married when we were 25. We're now 38. We met in college, got married, and everything was great. We both finished our studies, got good jobs, and started our lives together. Both made good money, so there were no problems with money. My wife worked in her father's small business, and I worked in a large company. A few years later, my boss suddenly left the company and someone needed to take his place. The only one who knew how to run the department was me. So I got a huge raise. Salary, bonuses, benefits, in general, the whole package. At 28, I was making about 3 times more than my wife. That same year, she gave birth to our first daughter, and 2 years later, her second. The wife working for her father could have a more flexible work schedule. But about 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. This left the mother-in-law and wife with a difficult choice: sell the company or run it themselves. My mother-in-law had no idea how to run a business, so Jessica, as I replaced my wife's name, decided to take matters into her own hands. After she took over the company, she continued to work as successfully as her father. Accordingly, her income increased sharply and became more than mine. I was proud of her. Moving from an ordinary employee to managing an entire company is not easy and worthy of respect. However, our daughters began to suffer from the fact that their parents were almost never at home. Jessica and I discussed which of us would stay with them. She said, "The company where you work will cope without you, but mine may fall apart." I agreed, quit my job, and became a stay-at-home dad. I do everything: take care of the girls, cook, clean, fix things, run errands, whatever needs to be done. I greet Jessica from work, surrounding her with care. Everything was fine until about a year ago when something changed. She used to really appreciate my concern, but suddenly she became angry, saying things like, "Are you even doing anything? Or maybe you'll go and work." Although I was already working, I gave up my career to raise children, keep the house in order, and take care of my wife, who, by the way, has always been very sexy. She stopped taking initiative in her intimate life, and when I suggested, she always refused, saying that she was not in the mood. It was strange. I finally stopped trying. I thought she was stressed because of the pandemic and everything else. I tried to make her happy, but nothing worked. Our oldest daughter had a softball game last week. I prepared everything and we went. While playing, I decided to record a video for my parents, since they live in another state and rarely see their granddaughters. I forgot my phone, so I asked Jessica for it. She hadn't let go of it all day, so I thought it wouldn't hurt for her to take a little break from the screen. She handed me the phone and went to get drinks and snacks. While I was filming my daughter, a notification came in. I opened it and couldn't believe what I saw. Jessica was corresponding with a guy from work who is 8 years younger than her. They sent each other candid photos and videos and discussed how good they felt in bed. And then they started talking about me. He wrote that I was some kind of weakling who couldn't find a normal job and provide for my family. And Jessica agreed with him. I couldn't believe this nonsense. I was both crushed and enraged. I heard Jessica coming back and quickly closed the app and continued filming the game. On the way home, I was silent. When we arrived, Jessica tried to talk, but I wasn't in the mood. In the end, we went to bed, and apparently, since she and that guy had not seen each other for a long time, she suddenly tried to initiate sex. I said I wasn't in the mood. She replied, "If you behave like this, sleep on the sofa." I got up, went into the living room, and have been sleeping there ever since. I don't know what to do next. I just don't know where to start. Jessica was everything to me. My daughters are my life. And now it's all falling apart. Any advice would be great because I damn well need it. I forgot to mention that I took screenshots of the correspondence and saved them on my phone. I have proof. Update 1. Thanks everyone for the advice. Firstly, I have all the evidence. Correspondence, photographs, videos, everything. Secondly, I don't own Jessica's company. It is split 50-50 between Jessica and her mother. Thirdly, I simply cannot sleep in our bed. I already spend every night in the guest bedroom, and that's where I'll stay. Now to the main thing. I decided to file for divorce. This morning I called a law firm in another city to avoid information leaks. Luckily, someone canceled the appointment, and they were able to see me right after I dropped off my daughters. I went there. The lawyer turned out to be very good. I showed him the evidence, and he said that, fortunately for me, with such evidence, Jessica would be left with nothing after the divorce. Considering that I quit my job to raise our daughters, and at that time she was not at home, cheated, and put her lover above her family, we will win the trial without any problems. The lawyer explained that I was entitled to alimony and child support payments. I will keep the house, and Jessica will be responsible for paying for it while our daughters live there. He also said that I can demand additional payments since now I am considered unclaimed in the labor market, and this money will help me get an education and find a new job. Some of you were right. The lawyer also advised me not to get a job until the divorce was finalized. He explained, "If you find a job now, you may lose a significant part of the payments." He asked if I wanted full custody. I replied that I didn't mind if Jessica saw the girls on the weekends from time to time, but basically I should have custody. He said, "Since she took her lover to your common house, you can demand anything." From a legal point of view, she put the girls in danger, so this is a serious argument in court. I will seek full custody with the possibility of her seeing my daughters once a week or twice a month. I will also set conditions. No men should appear near my daughters. If I find out that one of them is near my children, she will face serious problems. The lawyer also strongly recommended that I behave calmly and not create scandals until the documents were ready, and she was served with a summons to evict her from the house. This should happen next week. He warned, "I know this is hard for you, but just keep your mouth shut until this is all over." When the divorce is finalized, you can say whatever you want about her. But for now, just keep quiet. He also gave clear instructions. Behave as usual. No scandals, no showdowns. Sleep separately and under no circumstances tumble with her. I asked why. He replied, "Just trust me and do what I say." I returned home, cooked dinner, and now act like everything is fine. I will remain calm until she is officially notified of the divorce next week. The lawyer also advised me to get tested for STDs and do a DNA test to determine the paternity of my daughters. When I asked why, he said that such betrayals rarely happen for the first time. This really hurt and scared me. Update 2, I feel depressed and it's really hard for me right now. First, I discussed these posts with my lawyer. He said I could continue writing as long as I kept it short and not too specific so as not to reveal unnecessary details. So this update will be short. Let's start with tests. I got tested for STDs and took a paternity test. The good news is that I don't have any illnesses. I'm healthy. And now what I'm sure many people wanted to know about is the results of the paternity test. Will I still be a father to my girls regardless of the outcome? Undoubtedly. But I am happy to say that I am indeed their biological father. I never thought that I would have to check this at all, but this is how it turned out. Now about what happened to my future ex. Since she moved out of the house, the court granted me full temporary custody. Perhaps this will continue to be the case. Details will come later, but the fact is that she no longer lives with us. My lawyer organized everything so that my girls would stay with me, and her eviction would be legally correct. It wasn't pretty, but I'll leave the details for later. She was notified of the divorce at work, and as far as I know, it was harsh. But again, details later. My daughters understand what's going on. The eldest knows that we are getting a divorce, and one of her friend's parents divorced for the same reason. She saw how it affected her friend, and now she doesn't want Jessica and I to break up. She cries and begs me to bring my mother home. I plan to enroll them in a child psychologist to help them understand the situation. The youngest just misses her mother and wants her to come back. It breaks my heart and makes me feel like a terrible father. They probably hate me now. Sometimes the thought occurs to me, what if, for the sake of the girls, it was worth just putting up with her infidelities in order to save the family? But I can't do that. There are times when I think maybe I should offer Jessica an open relationship and wait for the girls to grow up, but I know that won't work. They will notice that mom and dad don't like each other, and this will only make things worse for them. As for my ex, she now lives with her mother. My mother-in-law called me and asked for a meeting. I agreed. She didn't ask questions, said that we would talk later, but begged me not to separate her from her granddaughters. I replied, "You are a wonderful and loving grandmother. If you can separate your granddaughters and the problems between me and your daughter, I see no reason to deprive you of communication with them." She thanked me. And that's all for now. My ex-wife keeps calling and texting, trying to figure out what's going on between us. As directed by the lawyer, all our conversations take place through a controlled channel and concern only children. So that's all for now. I'll continue to share updates, and when it's all over, I'll make one big post with all the details that I can't reveal right now. Update 3. I spent Thanksgiving with my soon-to-be ex-wife and mother-in-law. I did this only for the sake of my daughters, and my lawyer made sure that communication concerned exclusively the children and not attempts at reconciliation. Before the holiday, I met with my mother-in-law to discuss how we would continue to interact for the sake of the girls. During the conversation, she told me something about Jessica. It turns out that her boyfriend cheated on her in high school. I didn't even know she had someone. According to the mother-in-law, this guy was from a family that it was better to stay away from. As a result, she once caught him with another girl, and her mother-in-law was shocked by his action. In college, Jessica had some other relationships, but her mother-in-law immediately realized that they would not last long. But when she met me, my mother-in-law realized that she had finally found her son-in-law. She very much apologized for her daughter's actions and promised that she would not allow any difficulties on her part in the divorce. A couple of days before Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law invited me and the girls over for dinner. I immediately asked, "Will she be there?" The mother-in-law replied, "Yes." I said, "Then I can't come." She understood everything, but asked to hold this holiday again as a family, for the sake of the girls. She added, "I know you have a lawyer, so ask him. If he says it's a bad idea, I'll understand." I asked the lawyer, and he said, "Warn Jessica through the app that this is solely for the sake of the children, to avoid misunderstandings." So I did. Jessica had already written to me before and begged for a meeting, because the girls also really wanted to see their mother. I decided to step on the throat of my pride for the sake of my daughters and went. It was terribly awkward. Jessica hugged her daughters and then tried to hug and kiss me. I dodged and went to hug my mother-in-law. Jessica spent the entire evening trying to act like we were still a family. She tried to talk to me, but I only answered yes and no, and helped my mother-in-law with dinner and cleaning. The mother-in-law, being a believer, wanted to pray before dinner. Even though I am an atheist, I agreed out of respect for her. Jessica sat next to me and took her daughter's hand. When she tried to take mine, I pulled my hand away. Yes, maybe it was harsh, but I don't want her to touch me. Over dinner, Jessica continued to act like we were still a couple and started talking about Christmas and family trips. It looks like she seriously expects us to go on vacation as a family. At that moment, I realized that agreeing to this dinner was a mistake. After dinner, I got up, helped the girls wash, cleaned up, washed the dishes, and got ready to leave. The daughters wanted to watch a movie with their mother that we always watch together. I allowed it. Jessica tried to snuggle up to me on the couch, but I moved to a chair. All this time, her mother-in-law looked at her with obvious irritation. After the movie, the girls fell asleep. I took them to the car and returned for my things. And then Jessica, in tears, grabbed my hand, begging me to give her a chance, and began to say that she wanted to save the family, that she was sorry. But before I could answer, my mother-in-law simply grabbed her by the hair, no joke, and pulled. She then turned to me and calmly said, "Good night," and then began yelling at her daughter. I told the lawyer everything, and he confirmed that there were no hints of reconciliation on my part. Jessica wrote and called again, begging her to try again, but I just ignored her. I only talked to her about my daughters. I think the same situation will happen at Christmas. I don't know yet whether I should go there, so I'll consult with a lawyer again. Update 4. This post will be short, but the situation with my daughters has gotten much worse. This week, they had 2 sessions with a psychologist. The first one went well. The girls came out calmer than usual. After talking with the psychologist, I got the impression that she really understands my children well. However, the second session turned out to be a complete nightmare. The psychologist explained to the girls in a way that was understandable for their age that the reason for Jessica and I's divorce was that their mother cheated on me and betrayed me. I knew that sooner or later they would have to find out, but I didn't think it would happen so soon. When I came for the girls, they just rushed at me in tears, hugging me, clinging to me, repeating how much they loved me. This is not at all what I wanted. I asked the psychologist, "Why did you tell them?" She replied, "They know that you and your wife are getting a divorce. They see that you are cold to their mother. They understand everything, see how you treat her, and want to know why you are getting a divorce." I tried to avoid the topic, but she said, "Girls can't do well in therapy unless we tell them the truth." I won't go into detail about exactly how she explained it to them, but they now know that their mother was unfaithful. I think the eldest will be able to cope with this, but the youngest is unlikely. When we returned home, the girls literally wouldn't let me go. They cried all evening. I ordered them food, put on their favorite movies in my bedroom, and we just laid there together. When they fell asleep, I went to the bathroom and burst into tears. My soon-to-be ex doesn't even realize how much pain she's causing our children. I don't know how to deal with this. The psychologist suggested trying drug treatment for a while to make it easier for them to adapt to the new reality. I refused. She supported me and said it was just an option. She cannot prescribe medications, but recommended contacting a pediatrician who would most likely diagnose and prescribe treatment. But I'm not going to drug my kids. I prefer that they experience it all naturally. At least there won't be any problems with Christmas. My daughters now hate their mother. As I found out, the eldest said that she never wanted to see her again. The youngest, as always, follows her sister. But maybe she really thinks so too. I was shocked. I said, "You don't hate her. You're angry, but you don't hate. She loves you and cares about you." To which the eldest simply replied, "No, she doesn't." And then she burst into tears again in my arms and soon fell asleep. The younger one followed suit. This is my life now. Update 5. The girls feel better. They continue to see the same psychologist and seem to be starting to come to their senses. They said that they no longer hated their mother, but they made it clear that they did not want to see her for a long time. These are their words, not mine. Let's see how it goes further. Jessica learned that the girls now know the truth. She tried to call them, and they answered the phone. But after that, she began to respect our boundaries a little more. I think she's finally starting to realize what she's done. Now about her lover. I already knew he was a piece of shit, but after recent events, I'm speechless. Someone asked if he had a wife. I didn't know this. I decided to dig through the papers of Jessica's company and found a list of employees with emergency contacts. I called his number and his wife, Emily, answered. It turned out he was married. Moreover, he has a small child. I told her everything. At first, she didn't believe me and hung up, but later she called back and asked to meet. We met and I showed her all the evidence. Emily asked to move into my car. As soon as I closed the door, she burst into tears, repeating, "How could he do this to me? What did I do wrong?" I told her, "You didn't do anything. It's not your fault." Then I gave her my lawyer's number. Emily then asked, "How long did it last?" I answered, "About a year, maybe a little more." At that moment, she suddenly switched from grief to rage. I didn't realize what was happening until she pulled her hair off her head. It turned out it was a wig. She looked at me and said, "I just beat cancer." After the birth of their child, Emily began to have health problems, and in the hospital she was diagnosed with a tumor. Over the past year or more, she has undergone 2 surgeries, undergone chemotherapy, and taken medications. She looked good, and I would not have guessed that she had such a serious illness. She said she was now recovered, but she and her husband had not been intimate for the past 2 years. I felt terrible during pregnancy, and then the cancer finally knocked me down. I was bald, bloated from the drugs. Not at all what I had been before, but I tried so hard. I thought that now that I was better, I could be a wife again. I planned to surprise him. But it turns out that a caring and loving husband has long found where to spend his energy. Emily burst into tears again, saying that her child would now grow up in a broken home. I tried to console her, and then she tried to seduce me. I immediately stopped her and said, "No, you're not in that state right now. This is wrong." Emily thanked me for my honesty, asked for all the proof, and then went home. Since then, we have corresponded several times. We're both in the same situation, so I think we'll keep in touch. And yes, thanks to those who advised me to check if he had a wife. I wouldn't have thought about it myself. Update 6. People have already asked me if I spent Christmas with Emily. Yes, I did. Honestly, it was wonderful. The whole day was just perfect. I laid out gifts for the girls from Santa in advance. Most likely this was the last year when the eldest still believed in him. So I wanted to make this holiday special. I prepared everything in advance while they were sleeping. The girls woke up literally 15 minutes later and screamed that Santa was coming. I, with difficulty getting out of bed, followed them. They opened the gifts and were delighted. After that, I turned on the movie, and one of the girls immediately snuggled up to me and fell asleep. I got out and made coffee. Then the youngest woke up and said she was hungry. I gave her an apron, and we made breakfast together. Then the eldest woke up and we all ate. They played with gifts all day, and it made me really happy. In the evening, I had to take them to their mother. I'm usually strict when it comes to getting ready, but because of everything that happened, I became a little softer. The girls reluctantly began to get ready and said that they did not want to go there at all. I replied, "Your mother loves you." The psychologist said that for their normal development, I must support their relationship with their mother. She also warned that if I didn't do this, Jessica might use it against me in court. The psychologist also spoke to my wife and told her directly, "You betrayed your husband, and it is clear that he is the main parent for the girls. You will have to try hard to regain their trust and love." I also told my daughters, "Don't punish grandma for what your mom did. Go for her sake." They agreed. When we arrived, I called my mother-in-law. She went out and took their things. The girls stayed there overnight. The mother-in-law asked if they could spend the night. I consulted a lawyer and he said one night was no problem. The main thing is not to leave them there for several days and not to do this regularly. I also told the girls, "If you want to go home, just call me and I will come get you." As I was leaving, Jessica came out. I don't know what her mother-in-law told her, but she clearly didn't expect to hear it. Confusion was visible on her face, and her mother-in-law looked at her sternly. I think she wanted to tell me something, but she just looked up with tears in her eyes and waved her hand. I just left. I left dinner in the oven and kept it warm for Emily, who was coming over later. When she arrived, her child was not with her. I asked, "Where is the baby?" She replied, "My mother-in-law and father-in-law wanted to spend Christmas with him. And his father, too. In fact, through my lawyer, I came up with the same scheme as yours." I just nodded. Emily looked amazing. We had dinner and just talked about life, about the past, and got to know each other better. After dinner, we sat on the sofa, I turned on a movie, and we continued talking. Then I took out a bottle of wine. I don't drink often, but on Christmas Day, I usually allow myself wine. Emily asked, "Can I have some?" I clarified, "Are you sure you can?" She replied, "Yes." I poured it for her. Our conversation moved from the past to hobbies, then to current problems. We cried a little, then started joking and laughing. After 2 bottles, which is actually uncharacteristic for me, the conversation smoothly turned to the topic of intimacy, about tastes, preferences, desires. It turned out that in this regard we are very similar, and Emily said, "Your wife screwed up." I replied, "Like your husband." I know that many people advised me to answer her the last time she tried to seduce me. I didn't do it then because I didn't want her to make an emotional mistake. This time I said, "You can take off the wig if you want. You look amazing without it. You are very beautiful with short hair." She took it off, cried, and thanked me. We continued talking and then started watching a movie sitting next to each other. Important to note, my ex-wife loved it when I massaged her breasts while cuddling. This relaxed her. I did this so often that I didn't even notice that I started doing it to Emily. She said, "It feels good." I got scared, abruptly removed my hands and apologized. "Sorry, I didn't realize what I was doing." She replied, "It's okay. On the contrary, you can continue. It's relaxing." So I continued. And after that, everything started to spin. The next morning we had breakfast and showered. I asked, "Did you plan this?" She laughed and replied, "No." But every girl always has a spare set of clothes. As she was leaving, she asked, "Did you feel something last night?" I answered honestly that yes, but added that we need to focus on ourselves and our children and make sure that these feelings are real and not just emotions against the backdrop of everything that happened. She agreed and said we would deal with it later. Before leaving, she kissed me on the cheek, thanked me for a wonderful night, and said, "I'll text you later." I went to pick up the girls. It turned out that they had a good time. They said Mom behaved well most of the time. So yeah, now I just finished cooking dinner and we'll be spending the evening together. Thanks, everyone. These posts have become a bit of therapy for me. Update 7. There's been a lot going on lately, so this update will be short. I also don't blame those who think this story is fake. The internet is indeed full of liars, provocateurs, and fans of creating dramas. The girls feel much better. Thanks to work with a psychologist and various activities, they began to come to their senses. Of course, they still have difficult moments, but overall the situation is improving. As for Emily and me, we continue to communicate almost every day, but since then we haven't had anything. We don't regret what happened, but we understand that we shouldn't have done it. Now about my future ex. For a few weeks after Christmas, she still tries to get me to talk to her, but now she has almost stopped. As my lawyer said, he is aware of the whole situation. Official meetings will begin soon. She finally realized that I had really decided everything for myself, and she had no chance of convincing me to change my mind. I am sure that they will try to offer the option of reconciliation, but this will not happen. She still texts and calls from time to time, trying to convince me, but I just ignore her messages. Now to the most interesting thing. My wife's lover was arrested. I can't give too many details yet, but as far as I understand, he came to Jessica's work and gave her a dressing down. They got into a verbal argument, after which she threatened to call the police and then he hit her. Colleagues intervened, and he was simply knocked down. The police came and took him away. Jessica wrote a statement against him. I'm sure he'll now hire a lawyer to countersue her for their office romance. But I don't have any information yet. My mother-in-law told me about it and said, "If you want, you can meet her." As I understand it, he gave her a black eye and broke her lip. But the mother-in-law just shrugged and said, "Karma." So I haven't seen Jessica since then, and neither have the girls. Unless something extraordinary happens, you most likely will not hear anything new from me until your first formal meeting with the lawyers. But unfortunately, the story ended there, and there were no more updates from the author. Write your opinion in the comments. What do you think happened next? I think that everything turned out fine for the author. If there were any tough problems, he would probably write and ask the commentators for help. And since everything had more or less stabilized, there were no more updates. You know how it happens. When there's some kind of trouble, then yes, you're cheating. You start writing, asking for advice, and when everything is smooth, then, well, you're kind of lazy already. And now let's move on to the next story. Of course, from your favorite section, change. I found out from my daughter that my wife was cheating on me with a man she met in a supermarket. Here's what I did. My wife, 33 years old, was a true shopping expert. Her mother and grandmother were extremely materialistic, so she learned early on how to hunt for bargains and shop wisely. That is why I am 37 years old, was usually not eager to go with her. She could disappear in stores for 6 hours or even longer. She went shopping once a week, every Saturday, leaving the house at 6 a.m. First, I went to the Saturday market, then to the shopping center, had lunch there, and continued shopping. We were married for 8 years, and she had this routine the whole time. Sometimes she took our 5-year-old daughter with her. My wife was the most reliable person for me, and I didn't even suspect that she didn't deserve my trust. Over time, she began to take her daughter with her less and less, leaving the house while she was still sleeping, not giving her a choice. I asked what was the matter, and she explained that this way she could get home faster. After all, her daughter often began to be capricious and tired even before her wife finished shopping. It sounded logical, but it upset me because my daughter loved to go shopping with her. After that, the daughter herself began to ask every time if she could go, but the wife invariably refused. In return, she either did something else with her the next day or bought her something nice, but it wasn't the same. I turned a blind eye to it for a while, but eventually decided I needed to talk. I told my wife that this Saturday she should take my daughter with me. She was unhappy. I couldn't believe it was such an inconvenience for her. In the end, she agreed and actually took her with her. But the next day, Sunday, she was left alone again. Usually on Sunday, we had family time and we did meditation. My daughter always turned it into a game, trying not to get caught during practice. When the wife returned home, she was in a great mood, as if nothing had happened. But then our daughter asked a question that turned everything upside down. She asked, "Mom, did you meet your uncle with a doll today?" The wife laughed nervously and replied, "No, he only comes to the market on Saturdays." I asked, "Who is this?" Before the wife could answer, the daughter said, "This is the uncle whom Mom kissed yesterday." I stared at her, then turned my gaze to my wife. She realized that a conversation was inevitable. I took her to another room when she sat her daughter down to play. I interrogated her until she had no strength left to come up with excuses. She tried to say that her daughter had messed up something, but I knew that she knew how to express her thoughts well. Moreover, the daughter looked at her mother as if she knew that she had done something bad and wanted me to know about it. In the end, the wife confessed. She said the man was just a good person she had become friends with over the years of going to the market. He started to develop feelings for her, and she didn't want to offend him, so she started kissing him. I couldn't believe she seriously thought this was normal. I told her that she had betrayed my trust by even hiding from me the very fact of her friendship with this person. It's important for me to know her social circle, if only for safety's sake. And now I suddenly realized that she communicated with this man for many years, introduced our daughter to him, and kissed him. I looked her straight in the eyes and asked if she had slept with this man or someone else. She blushed, looked away, and said, "No." How much more obvious could her lie be? I continued to look at her, but she just tried to change the subject and asked if we could leave the room. I said, "No," and demanded that she tell the truth because her behavior was giving her away. Her mouth went dry and she began to swallow convulsively. She then ran into the bathroom and vomited. I told her that she should confess. It would help her feel relief, but she pretended that she had nothing to say. Then I said that I no longer wanted her to go to the Saturday market. She got angry and said that this was one of the main pleasures in her life. I replied that she herself ruined everything by starting to kiss some old man. I even wondered if she said old man specifically so that I would imagine a lonely elderly man and not attach much importance to it. But I'm not a fool. As a result, she didn't go anywhere on weekends for a whole month, but then she finally found a reason to leave the house. True, this time she took our daughter with her to prove to me that nothing suspicious was happening. They were returning with purchases from the store, which confirmed that they were indeed not at the market. I was disgusted that this had become an issue between us. Now, every time she left the house, I thought, is she going to this gentleman? The day she went out alone again for the first time, I decided to follow her. She didn't go to the Saturday market. She went to someone's house. Before I received confirmation, I found out whose apartment it was. I felt it in every cell of my body. This was the house of that same man. I knocked on the door when my wife came inside. The guy opened the door. He looked young and confused. He asked, "Why are you here?" I asked him directly, "Are you the same man with the doll from the market?" He covered his mouth with his hand and after a second asked, "Are you her husband?" I answered, "Yes." and then he shouted her name. His wife left the house and he told her to leave. Then he turned to me and said that she introduced herself to him as a widow. It was as if my heart had stopped. Everything inside froze. My wife ran out into the street as if she had a right to be angry and walked past me trying to get into the car. I grabbed her keys, ran to my car, and locked myself in there. Before giving her back the keys without a house key, she told her parents that I kicked her out for no reason and they let her stay at their place. They even organized a truck to pick up her things. When they came to me with my wife to find out what had happened, I told them the whole truth. It seems they gave her a real hard time because from that day on, she hated me for what I told them. After just 5 weeks, she moved out of her parents' place, preferring to sleep over with friends. The divorce went in my favor, and she herself is now only partially involved in our daughter's life. Well, that's all. I look forward to your opinion in the comments about this story. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Subscribe to the channel and watch our previous video, which you will see here. And good luck to you.